Good morning. Welcome to Advanced Talks podcast. I am Kristen Vance, and today I have a top level industry leader with me today, Miss Mandy Eskelin. She's going to be sharing her journey of how she got started in this industry and the success that she's had. She is a wife, a mother, she's a celebrity personal trainer, a holistic nutrition expert, a gut health specialist, and she hit a six-figure income in 8 months. So we're going to be diving into her story today, and then part two, learning some tips and tricks of how she reached those levels of success. So without further ado, I want to introduce you guys to Miss Mandy Eskelin.
Hi, Kristen. I am so excited to be here. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I met Kristen at a 6 and 7 figure mastermind a little over a year ago, and we hit it off immediately. Just absolutely adore Miss Kristen Vance. Seriously, she's phenomenal. You guys have to give her some love. And I'm honored to be here on your podcast, Kristen.
Thanks for being on here. I'm excited. I know a little bit about your story, and I'm excited for my audience to hear that because I know it's going to inspire and just you are a wealth of knowledge. I got to tell you guys, when we were at Mastermind, I think Mandy and I stood in a little corner by ourselves for I felt like an hour of her just sharing her tips. She is a phenomenal leader. Not only does she have her like personal milestones that she has hit, but I was very inspired by her drive for her team to help her team reach their goals. And so I am excited for you guys to learn from her. So I first just want to dive on in just how you got started in this industry. What were you doing prior, and how did this industry get introduced to you?
I love that question. Thank you so much. Well, first of all, my background is in fitness and nutrition. I lost about 30 pounds after I had my second child, my son, who's 16. I also have a daughter that's 20 now. But I lost almost 30 pounds, and I was a personal trainer. I went into fitness competitions, and I developed a lot of digestive issues. Long story short, doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. So I decided to go to holistic nutrition school so that I could heal my own body. And then I fell in love with helping people heal their gut and heal their life and heal their mind. And still, as a personal trainer, I was working between 8 to 12 hours a day, my husband and I both. And I mean, literally, we would high five in the gym, or he'd give me a kiss as he went off to his night job. And I would come home and take care of the kids. And I never got to see my husband. He would come home around 11 o'clock at night, midnight, and he would come in, kiss the kids. They were already asleep. He'd get up in the morning to go train his first client before they were ever awake. And there were sometimes 2 or 3 days that he didn't get to see the kids living in the same house. And I was like a single mom at night while he was at his night job. I was handling kids and homework and sports and baths and dinners and all of that stuff. And so we were just burnt out, like literally crying. Like, I don't know if anyone listening can ever relate to this, but we had more month than we did money. And we couldn't work any more hours in a day. There were just no more hours in a day. We were barely getting 5 to 6 hours of sleep as it was. And so, reluctantly, when we were introduced to this industry of network marketing, first of all, my husband was arms crossed like this, like, no, not going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can relate. And if for me, I'm like, look, babe, if we can just make $500 a month, right? If we can just make $500 extra a month, that will at least maybe help you not work one night more a month or something, so we can be a family more. And he wanted to join just to prove the couple wrong. And the couple, he was a doctor and she was a personal trainer. So obviously we had some like connection there and relatability, but it was not something that we thought we were going to get into. And in all honesty, when I did get into our first company about 7 years ago, I mean, yes, we made more than $500 even our first month. And it did allow us to open up our eyes to the industry and really start to fall in love with the possibilities and the opportunities. And so the more that we were like, okay, they say when the check goes up, the man wakes up. And that is totally what happened with us. As soon as, like I started working it again, he wanted to prove them wrong. And so, or expose them, he probably says better. But we made, just under $2,000 our first month. And then the next month made more than that. So by month 3, we were able to replace his nighttime income. And that was, gosh, almost 7 years ago. And we have been able to be a family ever since. And a year later, we both retired from the gym full time. We only have one celebrity client each. They're a couple, they're absolutely amazing. And that's actually who runs the mastermind that Kristen and I go to, Eric and Marina Worry. But we were able to retire him from his night job right away. Then within a year, replace our gym income and be able to work from home, be able to spend the time together that we never got to the first 5 years of our
Mhm.
relationship. And
Yeah.
so that's how we got into the industry. And now it's so crazy. I couldn't see myself doing anything else. I'm madly in love with the industry, being able to help people on a larger scale, really globally, and
Mhm.
tens of thousands of people. That to me is everything because we're very impact driven, and helping people all over the world was something that we wanted to do. So it just, everything happened in divine timing. It was not on our timeline as much as we wanted it to be. But when this got introduced to us, we had to look at, okay, there's a reason, right? And
Mhm.
there's a reason that this is here. And I'm so grateful that I didn't listen to my husband at the moment, and and be able to jump in and at least try to make $500 extra a month, because people right now need that so
Mhm.
desperately.
Yeah. And that's actually when I started in the industry, very similar. I was like, I would just love to make a couple extra $100 a month, not knowing the potential that exists in this industry. And that's how it started for me. And then it began to compound and grow. And I gotta say, like, I love your story because we do see a lot of stay-home moms in this industry, which I love that. I love the ability that this industry provides for women to be able to stay home and work. But I also love seeing when high level professionals start seizing hold of this industry too, because you guys had an incredible career built even prior to this. And it would be very easy for somebody that's experienced success at a professional level to kind of snub their nose to the industry, so to speak,
Mhm.
and say, well, that's not for me. We're going to build this way. But you guys saw that potential and how it could pair beautifully with what you were already doing. And it doesn't mean, I think the beautiful thing about this industry is it can provide to where you can leave a 9 to 5, but not everybody wants to leave their 9 to 5. Not everybody wants to leave their profession because they love it. And
Mhm.
so I love seeing stories like yours where it's not just we're doing this to leave our 9 to 5. We love our job, but this pairs beautifully with what we're already doing. Can you speak to that a little bit, like how this pairs with what you guys had already built?
Yeah, I love that question because you're right. Not everybody wants to leave their 9 to 5. They've got health benefits, they've got retirement set up, they've got, maybe it's something that people are super passionate about. And I never recommend leaving what you're doing, right? And just go full time into this profession. I mean, it is also a job, but what I do love is 98% of our team have those full time jobs, right? They have those careers, but they're fitting this into the smaller cracks of their schedule. And so that's what's beautiful, whether you're impact driven and want to help others outside of your 9 to 5, or whether you want to make those extra few $100s a month to help subsidize, inflation, whatever that is, or to be able to save some money to take your family on the vacation you want to instead of the vacation that you have to settle for. So there's so many reasons why to create this extra income. And it doesn't mean that you have to plan on quitting your 9 to 5. For us, it did pair beautifully. And eventually we scaled back to a point where now we only have one client, and the rest of our day is full time working within our team, building systems and that sort of thing, which I know we'll dive into. But for us, our biggest thing was we wanted to be home as a family, and we were tired. I try not to get emotional because we never got to see each other. We never got to be a family but one night a month. And for us, that's like, this is not, I mean, I was literally banging my head and crying and praying to God, like, please tell me that this is not what it's going to be like for the next 20 years. Like, we couldn't take time off of work because we weren't going to have any income. So we were never able to take those vacations. We weren't able to go to our son's, basketball tournaments or our daughter's volleyball tournaments because we had to work, and it wasn't even a choice. So people that have full-time jobs, I say keep your full-time job. Make this
Mhm.
your plan B, right? Like that side hustle where you can either create the extra 500 to $1,000 a month, helping other people, impacting others' lives. But maybe it does get to the point where you're like, you know what? I love it. And that's what we did. We've got to the point where we're like, wow, this is amazing. We can scale this. We can have leverage because we have a team. We're not doing everything. We have systems that duplicate. It's not dependent on us. This is brilliant for us. So a year later, we're like, okay, let's get it to the point where we replace that gym income. And then we both retired from the gym so that we could be with our family first and foremost, and then build our business around our family time. Right.
Yeah.
And I know when I was in the gym full time or working full time in corporate years before that, I had to try to fit my family life around my job, right?
Right.
And for me, I just didn't want to do that anymore. I wanted to be that family, travel with our kids, all of that stuff. And this profession allowed us to do that. But even for someone that's working full time, just find a way, find a company that aligns with you, like within your vision, or something that just aligns with who you are and your core values, and go make that extra 500 to $1,000. Take your family on another vacation. Use that to pay off debt, like whatever that is. But it doesn't mean that you have to quit that 9 to 5. This is something that you can do in the cracks of your schedule, to help either subsidize or just eventually phase out that 9 to 5.
Yeah. And it's kind of like a balancing scale. It's like you said at first, go in and it may be your plan B, right? You're building this as you're working that main career job. And then as it kind of like you guys, as it builds, it kind of slowly went this way. And you realize like, I get to have the family time and I'm making way more. And even for me, I mean, I started in this industry. I was a single mom. I didn't have another career. I was all in with this, but I didn't know if this would truly turn out into a career or if I'd have to go get another job on the side. And then as it built and built and built, I realized like, why would I go get a job? My dream was to be a stay-home mom. Like that has always been the dream. People would say, what do you want to do when you grow up? I'm like, I don't know. I want to be a mom. I want to stay home. And so as this career took off, like it allowed me to do that to where it eventually became my career. Or like you, it eventually became your full time. Now, when you guys started, so kind of going back to the beginning, was this pre-social media? Were you guys utilizing social media? Were you doing a lot of in person? What did that look like for you guys?
Yes, it was mostly in person and very little on social media. I mean, we had online coaching and nutrition programs because I was a nutrition coach and personal trainer. So before the industry, I had already created like online coaching courses and groups and challenges. So what I did though was in person. And it's very different now with social
Yeah.
media. I mean, it's probably like 90-10 switched the opposite way. But when we first started, it was probably 80% in person and like 20% online. But again, that was 7 years ago. And
Mhm.
so it was mostly like to my gym clients or to my friends, or, and in all honesty, back then in the first company that I was with, it was mostly weight loss, selling shakes and stuff like that. So we were the product experts. And I know we're going to dive into system stuff, but we were the experts in that first company that we were with for 2 years. And we kept hitting this glass ceiling and we didn't have any duplication. And so we couldn't figure out like what's off with this. And so we just kept selling products and selling products and selling products for people to lose weight and all these challenges. And quickly we ran out of like our close friends in person and our
Yeah.
clients. And so we had to slowly shift and realize, okay, well, if we already went through our warm market, then what do we need to do next? And then that's where we started to go online more.
Mhm.
And that's where we shifted it. But yeah, at first, 7 years ago, it was mostly in person, a little bit online, but I didn't know social media today. And I learned a lot from you, by the way. With your social media, you're just a gangster. And I've learned from people who were right, like success leaves clues. I choose to follow people and do what other people that have success before me do. And
Mhm.
so that's when I started. When we switched companies 5 years ago, that's when we switched a lot to online and then less in person. And then now it's even less. It's more social media, which is great for people who work that 9 to 5 or who want that extra income, that it's not reliant on them having to do it in person when they've got kids and sporting events and that sort of thing, where we can truly leverage social media the way that it's designed to be leveraged the right way and save us time.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing is when somebody comes in and they're like, well, I don't have a large network. I don't have a lot of friends and family that would be interested. It's like you can actually, those are skill sets, tactical things that you can teach them on how to expand that following, how to expand their network. Most people think when they, and I know you can probably vouch for this, a lot of people think when they come into this industry, oh, like, let me think of my friends and my best friend and my mom and who are the family members that would buy? And a lot of times they're actually the last ones to
Yeah.
ever catch the vision and to purchase from you. And
Yeah.
a lot of time it is more of that warm market. It's not necessarily the hot market. And so I actually love teaching people, like that's my passion, is how to expand, because I've got women who are like, oh, I'm from this tiny town, there's not a lot of people, can I be successful? Absolutely. If you are willing to learn social media and learn how to leverage that, you can reach masses. But I
Mhm.
also will say this too, and this is something that I've been implementing in the last few months, is that balance still though of that in person, because I think we went so far in the social media direction, especially around 2020 COVID times,
Yeah.
that that lost art of in person kind of went away. And there is a beautiful balance, I think, of the two. Yes, social media tends to be easier. You can reach a lot more people, but then there also is that beauty of in person where you make those connections. Like
Yeah.
those in-person clients will sometimes be your most loyal ones because they feel connected with you. So I'd love for you to speak to that. Do you guys do in person these days, and what does that look like for your business?
We do still do in person, and we obviously evolved and they look different, right? But
Mhm.
I believe, like you said, people ever since COVID, right? And the pandemic and the lockdowns, people were isolated. And I believe that we're missing that human connection. We are social creatures.
Yeah.
We need that human interaction. Although we were told for like 2 years, do not leave your house, do not go outside and talk to anyone. And I think a lot more people started suffering with anxiety and depression because of all that, because we need in person. And so we do a lot with our team. One month it might be like a fun pool party barbecue, which we actually have coming up next week. The month before that, it was a watch party and a launch party for a new product that we launched, right? So we're still doing in person. And I encourage all of my teams around the world, do in person. Get
Mhm.
people together in your living rooms, right? Get them together, talk to them, connect with them, because that is so important. And it is easy, even though it is easy to lose that if you're just on social media, because
Yeah.
even though we are in a high tech world, we still have to be high touch. And that's where in
I love
person, like going and having coffee with someone and just connecting, not with the intent to sell them, right? That's one thing I learned over the years is don't have an agenda when you're going to meet someone in person or when you're getting people together, unless it's something specific like a launch party. But go and just connect with people. They need that right now more than ever, and to be heard and to be valued and to be honored, because again, we're still coming out of that slightly brainwashing from that couple of years that we were told to be inside, and people are more afraid. And I'm like, no, like we get to go and connect, and we get to go and lead and show people how important it is to connect with them, and be that high touch, even though we're in a high tech world. So I believe it's very important. I mean, ours are bigger. Instead of like every single week we get together, we're doing it once or twice a month, but we're
Mhm.
making it more quality time together as a team. And in our other markets like Canada and Europe, we and in Australia and New Zealand, we recommend the same thing. Like, get people together. We need that. We need each other so badly. It not only for who we are as spiritual beings, but also for our mental wellness. We get to connect and be with people. And I highly recommend still doing that, even though you might live in a small town and you think, well, I only have 400 people in my town. That's okay. Connect with them, but then still utilize social media for the massive impact that you can have with people.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's a great balance of both. And I think those that can master that balance, even if you're a little heavier on one side than the other, those that are implementing both, I think those are going to be the top leaders that you see emerging over the years to come, are those who are utilizing both and not just all in one area. So I love that and love that you shared that. And I know a little bit about your story, and you had shared that in, I believe it was 8 months, you were able to make a six-figure income, which is absolutely incredible. And I'm sure people, and we're going to get into the tips and tricks and how you did all of that, but I kind of want to look at the other side because there will be a lot of people, you hear that there is no overnight success, or even if you have a lot of success in the beginning, there are hardships that I'm sure you've had to endure in business. So I'd love for you to share, like, what were some of those hardships in business that you walked through and like how you overcame those?
I love that. And I'm going to take it back to when I was in my first company, because I mentioned that we were just product sales experts, right? Sell, 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 sell. We went through our like warm market pretty fast in person with our clients and our friends and our family. And yes, oh my gosh, even after 7 years, I still don't believe that like my mom even respects what we've done and what we've created. And it's just kind of funny, but at the same time, that's okay. I don't want my mom in my business, right? I think family and close friends are the hardest and the most critical.
For
But
sure.
when we were in our first company, we went through that warm market pretty quick. We had enrolled like 250 people and we had zero duplication and we couldn't figure out why. What were we doing wrong? And the truth is people looked at us and they said, Mandy and Sami, we don't have your background in nutrition and exercise and gut health, and we can't do this business because we don't know how to explain everything to
Mm.
people like that. And so for me, I was like, and Eric Worre said, stop being a product expert to Sami and I. And so we were like, okay, so we didn't have a system in that first company. It was just us. And we didn't have leadership that came in and said, hey, here's the system to implement this. It was
Mm.
literally like a free for all. And so we did. And I am so grateful, that we met Julia and Brandon Thornhill, which you met Julia. She's
So
phenomenal.
sweet.
Yeah, she's so sweet. And we became friends, not prospecting, not even thinking about switching companies, but we had become friends. And so I was picking her brain, like wanting to know, what are these systems? How did you create 36-figure earners in like 3 years? Help me understand how you've created that success, because we hadn't even hit six figures. And so she was very transparent with, here's our system, here's, what we do in our team. And we tried to take that back to our existing company and team. And it
Mhm.
got shot down by our leadership. It didn't work because we were trying to take a piece of a different company, right? Or a different system and try to implement it in a different company, a different company. And it didn't work. But again, this was all learning lessons. And
Right.
so after a few months, I guess it was like 6 months, we just got to a point where we're like, okay, you know what? This isn't working, right? We have to be able to open our eyes. And I'm not telling people to switch companies by any means. This
Right.
is my story, and why I felt like, you know what, I needed to make a move, and we needed to do this so that we could really understand what is a system and know that systems duplicate, people don't. So when we moved over to this company that we've been at for 5 years now, we saw the system, and what we did was we just became completely coachable. We threw up our hands. We were like, okay, this feels really, really uncomfortable. This isn't what I'm used to doing, but you know what, if I want a different result, I have to do something different, because the definition of insanity is doing something over and over and over expecting the different result. But we knew that we had to do something different. And so I say that because I'm not at all telling people to switch companies. That's
Right.
not, no. I'm saying, like, for where we were, we realized the difference of what we needed and what we didn't have. Again, this was 5 years ago. And so when we came in and we leaned in, we trusted our leadership. We trusted the systems that they had already created. And that's how we were able to hit six figures in 8 months. And it was mind blowing. And by the way, and let me just say, let's talk about the challenges. So when we moved over here, um, less than a 2 months after we moved over here, bless their hearts, two of our founders passed away in a plane crash. And so we're like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen to the company? What's going to happen? Like, that was really scary because we didn't know, are we going to have a company? We just moved over here less than 2 months ago. It was a big challenge. Okay. So we ended up, the one surviving founder stepped in, kept the company not only together, but I think we grew even closer through that. And then 3 months later was the lockdowns. So we went from now building in person to having to pivot and figure out, how do we build this online? Like, that was all in that 8 months of us hitting six figures. So when it comes to like people thinking challenges, oh, maybe this isn't for me. Listen, I believe that the more adversity that we grow through, the more resilient that we become. And, now I'm kind of like, look back at those challenges. I'm like, wow, we've really come so far. When there were moments that we doubted, like, what is going to happen? I'm sure the world doubted what was going to happen, during those lockdowns. But we lost our founders. 3 months later was the lockdown. And yet we still put our heads down and we said, no, we're going to do this. And in that time frame, yes, we were able to hit a six-figure income. And that was growing a team that we never met. We met one person in Australia. Sorry, he was in New Zealand. Grew a massive team in 2020 and 2021 and 2022 in Australia, New Zealand, without ever being able to be there and go there because they had even stricter laws. So we couldn't even go over there. They couldn't come over here. And so that's when it's just about pivoting, right? It's about knowing when is the time to pivot? Okay, is this working? What's not working? Plan, do, review. Okay, what do we need to change? Where do we need to pivot to? But there's always going to be challenges. You can't just sit back and expect, like you said, get rich quick or just, oh man, this is easy. No, listen, it takes work. It takes perseverance. It takes grit and it takes drive. And for us coming in, we had to be open, hungry, and coachable. And that's what we look for people as well. And this, we look for people that are open, hungry, and coachable. And so we had to be that first in order to create the success and attract more people that were open, hungry, and coachable. But there's always going to be challenges. There is always going to be challenges and adversity. But I believe that they are all necessary parts of our journey. Necessary. Like sometimes I believe that they're planted there. Okay, there's a reason that this is happening right now. There's something for me to learn from it. It's going to get to be part of my story. There's something. So when we learn to embrace those challenges instead of like resisting them, that's when we have that opportunity to grow and take that gift from that challenge.
Yeah. And I think I love what you said of just like leaning into it because every single entrepreneur, whether in this industry or you've done brick and mortar, every single entrepreneur is going to experience those setbacks, every single one. But the difference I feel in this industry as opposed to others is I always say this, if you were going to build like a brick and mortar business, most people go in with the expectations of let's just break even the first year, right? Like it's gonna be hard. They go in with the expectation that it's hard work. And so when you recognize it's hard work, then that's when you recognize that you need discipline. And in the industry, there's been people who've painted it as a get rich quick, or you want to make thousands of dollars on your phone. And it's what it's done is it's created unrealistic expectations for people. So then they come into this industry, they in their first month maybe don't make some money or hit their goals. And then they go, oh, this must not be for me.
And it doesn't work, or it doesn't work. This industry
Exactly.
doesn't work.
Or that's when they company hop because it's like, oh, well, let me try this one. It must be their structure, their product or whatever. And they start jumping and nothing's ever compounding or growing. And so I think it's great. I love talking about this. I love asking every single person I interview on these podcasts, what were your challenges and setbacks? Because people need to recognize that there are going to be some. This business is not just a straight shot up the mountain. Like it is more of like a roller coaster, as you know. And I mean, you just shared some insane setbacks, some insane hardships that I hope people don't ever have to endure with the loss of CEOs. Like that's talk about hard, like that's definitely a hard thing to overcome. But I think as entrepreneurs, we have to go in with the mindset of there's going to be setbacks. We can even take this to social media and everybody's frustrated with the change in the algorithms and now it's this trend and that trend. But as entrepreneurs, I mean, really, if you're not pivoting, and like Mandy said, we're not talking companies, we're just talking pivoting in your business and adapting. If you're not doing that every 2 to 3 years, I would wonder and I would ask if there has been growth because most entrepreneurs, business owners are going to have to make some kind of pivot every 3 to 5 years. And so I love that. I love hearing about those setbacks because it's very inspiring and a great reminder to show people that you're not going to come into this industry and it's just rainbows and unicorns all the time. There's lots of hardships, but it's those that are going to persevere stay disciplined. And like you said, the three things that Eric's always teaching us is you've got to be willing, coachable, and hungry. And
Mhm.
if you're those three things and you stay consistent, you can grow and you can find success here. But it's not a straight shot by any means.
Not not at all. It really isn't. And I tell people this. We can teach you skills, right? Like you have systems and skills, and we do too, but we cannot teach work ethic and desire. Those are two things that people have to come and show up with, whether you're building this industry or it is a brick and mortar. It doesn't matter. If you're building a brick and mortar, you have to have work ethic and desire, and you have to have the tenacity and the grit to get that thing up and running and off the ground. Same thing here. It's very similar. So, people, I think, dismiss this industry, but it's the same as building a brick and mortar business. We just don't have the overhead. We don't have the overhead and the distribution and all of the marketing and the employees and all of that. We don't have any of that to worry about. And so that's the difference. But you still got to have the same uh, work ethic and desire, because you have to learn. It's not going to be easy neither way that you go, but knowing that, okay, I've got something to learn here, and then that's going to bring a new set of skill sets into
Mhm.
your life by knowing and embracing that you have something to learn.
Yeah. And I think that's the most difficult piece is you don't have somebody counting on you to clock in. You don't have somebody checking in where you at. You are essentially like your own boss in this industry. Like you can produce the content when you want to produce it and show up when you want to show up. And so it's those. And what the beautiful thing about the industry is it can be a hobby, it can be a side hustle for many people. But for those really wanting to find that success, I think the key is treating it like a 9 to 5. You got to show up when you don't want to show up, when you don't feel like getting out of bed, because you know that it matters. I always say this business is a 90-day business because everything you do today you're probably not going to see the fruits of for another 90 days, but it's all compounding. It's all making a difference. But it's those that can tap into that discipline and show up even on the days you don't want to show up. I mean, I've been in this industry and I've been through moves. I've walked through a divorce. I've been a single mom. I've walked through losses, hardships, all of it. But at the end of the day, it was showing up even on those days when I didn't feel like it. Same for you. I know going through a lot of that, there was probably many days you're like, I don't want to hit this live button. I don't, I don't want to show my face today.
Yeah.
And it could be something as simple as I'm tired. Like I would rather stay in bed, but there's so much potential in this industry, but it's only going to come to those who stay disciplined, stay willing, coachable, and hungry. And you're definitely an inspiration of that. I love hearing these parts of your story. And so, kind of segueing from that, I'd love to move into how you built this business. And starting with, you brought up several times the systems, the duplicatable systems. What are some of those that have worked for you, and what do those look like?
I love that. Systems. I didn't even understand systems until I got to this system that I work with for the last 5 years, because system stands for save yourself serious time, energy, and money. And systems duplicate, people don't. I know in my first company, I was like, oh gosh, me. Same thing as personal trainer. It was all reliant on me. And we only have so many hours in a day. But when I talk about like systems, I love that it doesn't all rely on me anymore, that I do have that more of that freedom and the flexibility, and that's what's so important. That's what we all want, right? We only have so many years on this earth. We're not born to go to school, go to college and get a degree, go work for one company for 40 years, and then hope that you get 40% of your retirement when you're done. That was our grandparents generation. That's not our generation. And so we have learned over the years of how important systems are in creating that duplication, so we can create some more of the freedom, so that we can have more time to be that present mom, right? Like knocking out the hard things first in the morning. And yes, there's days that I really don't want to, but I have to get up and show up for myself and show up for my team. And it's the same thing as showing up for a job. And we ask our leaders, like, listen, we get to, at the end of the day, look at, would I hire myself or fire myself today?
Hmm.
Right? Would I hire myself or fire myself? And don't beat yourself up. Okay, you know what? All right, I realized like I could have done this. Great. Tomorrow I'm going to be 1% better. The next day, same thing. And then be 1% better, striving for that. But with systems, when we came over here and learned that leading with the opportunity. Now, this is in our company, the system that works for us here was leading with the opportunity, leading with the big picture, leading with casting vision of what's possible for people. And then we also of course talk about the products, but we talk about the opportunity, we talk about the products, we talk about big vision, we talk about what's possible for people. And then at the end of it, we let them decide, where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as an affiliate brand partner with us, or do you see yourself as a customer? Either way, we honor and respect that. But we led with the business and we had so much excitement about when we came over here, like we are launching the biggest project of our career. We didn't say, hey, I want you to come check out a business opportunity, or hey, I've got these products that you need to see, and blah, 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 and information vomit on people. We followed the system, which was talk about the launching the biggest project of your career. And we came over here, sorry, started from scratch. Came over here, started from scratch. So we're like, whatever you tell us to do, we don't have anything to fall back on, right? We didn't have bridges and bonuses and any, no, we started from scratch. So we're like, okay, you tell us to do this, I'm going to do it. And so we led with the opportunity with lots of excitement about what we were doing. And in our first week, we reached out to about 150 people, maybe
Wow.
the first week and a half, reached out to 150 people like, oh my God, Kristen, I'm launching the biggest project of my career. I like, and I don't remember exactly what we said, but I did it with so much excitement, right? Like, what are you doing tomorrow night? Can you come over to my house? You got to see this. I can't wait to hear what you like best. And so that excitement and that right there got people like, I got to go check out what they're doing. What are they doing? And having the excitement, people want something to be excited and passionate about. So we get to be that first. And so we piqued their interest, and that's what we call it. We do a system called pique their interest, create curiosity, not information vomit about, every single product and what the products do and like what the business opportunity is. We pique their interest and create curiosity. Then we get them, let's say, in front of a presentation, whether it's in person or via Zoom or a recorded on Zoom presentation. And then we pass to a mentor. And what I mean by that is when people say, yeah, I really like this best and this best, but I got this question and this question. Great. You know what, Kristen? Let me grab my business partner, Miss Julia. She's got, 8 years industry experience. She's blah, blah, blah. And I edify Miss Julia. And then I bring Miss Julia in to answer the questions. Now, there's a reason for this because that third party edification is so crucial because people don't say no to this industry. They say no to what they think they have to do after they say yes. They don't say no to this industry. They say no to what they think they have to do after they say yes. So whatever they see me doing, they're going to automatically think that they have to do. And
Mhm.
so when we bring a third party in, that third party pass, we call it the pass. When we bring that third party in to pass, kind of like a hot potato, now you get to see like, all Mandy did was create some curiosity and excitement about what they're launching. She got me in front of a presentation and then she passed me to her business partner and mentor. She didn't have to answer all my questions. She didn't have to know all the ingredients. She didn't have to know how the comp plan's laid out. Although I know that, I do it for a purpose of showing people like, look, you don't have to know all of this. And so when I bring Miss Julia in, I introduce Miss Julia to my guest, and then Miss Julia takes over and answers their questions. And now they're like, wow, Mandy didn't have to answer all my questions. She got someone else to do that. Wow, I think I can do this business. And so that is a piece of a system that people think that they can do. And it's about pouring that belief into them and letting them see just through our process. Wow, okay, that's all she did. She didn't have to know everything about the products or anything like the ingredients and where they're sourced from and comp plan. I do know that, and so do our partners. However, we want to help show them the system. So it's pique their interest and create curiosity. We get them in front of a presentation that goes over everything, and then we let them decide during that pass call or get their questions answered, need more information. We do the pass. So pique, present, pass is our system. That is the foundation of our system. Now, some of that is prospecting before, and that's social media. posting, prospecting, right, through our social media, through our warm market, or even creating new relationships and developing the trust within our cold market. So then we can eventually peak them, get them in front of the presentation, and pass them to a mentor. And if they at the end just want to become a customer, awesome. I love that. I can't wait for you to experience these products and how it's going to change your life. But if they become a partner and affiliate with us, now we go through a launching and onboarding process to show them how to do exactly that: post, peak, present, and pass. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, it makes complete sense. I love that. And I've always been big on that third party validation. Not only, like you said, the benefits of helping your teammates, those partners, because maybe they're still learning and growing in that area and don't feel confident in that. But even from a customer perspective or a potential perspective, I always say it's like if you were to go to a store and there's a hideous purse that you would never pay attention to, right? And you just walk right past it. But then if you start to see a couple people looking at it, you may kind of peek over and go, well, what are they looking at? And all of a sudden it may be a little interesting to you. But then if you saw a line of people like in line for this purse, right? You may actually go, well, man, what's so great about that purse? Maybe I should take a look at that purse, right? It's that validation of, well, this is working for people. Maybe it'll work for me. And I also think that sometimes, our networks get so accustomed to us sharing how much we love our company, how much we love our products. And they believe that because we're showing up enthusiastically, consistently, but they need to hear from other people and what the company is doing for them and what the products are doing for them. Because again, it's that third party validation, but also they may see themselves in somebody else's story and maybe not yours. Like being in the beauty industry, I can't tell you the number of times I've been doing makeup and people say, but yes, but does this work for mature skin? Does this work for 50 to 60-year-old skin, right? Because they're looking at my mid-30s skin and going, okay, that's great for you, but does it work for people my age? And so product-wise, business-wise, I think it's so important for people to hear other people's testimonies about the product and opportunity, because they may go, you know what, I can do what she does. I relate to her. I relate to her story, her season of life. And so I think even going a step further and just, that third party validation of connecting with a mentor, but in our content, sharing those testimonies from other people, I think that is honestly the biggest weapon in this industry in a good way, that you want to have in your back pocket are those testimonials, product wise, opportunity. I think those are key.
Yes, they really are. And I love that you brought up that, because we need that social proof, right? Like you're talking about makeup and aging skin. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that I'm almost 50. But, so yeah, I'm going to ask that question too. Does it work for mature skin? But even on my side, where I'm in the mental wellness space, I didn't have depression, right? I didn't suffer with anxiety or a lot of things that other people do. Now, everyone has stress, so that's relatable. But I can't use my testimony for someone that's, got depression or feeling those depressed feelings or those anxious feelings, because I didn't have that. So that's when, yes, you're totally right. I will go and grab a testimonial and share someone else's story that's going to relate to them, because mine might not. And so I believe wholeheartedly, like you said, that the third party validation, but also the social proof, right? Let me see somebody else that's going to relate to me, because people aren't going to buy just, oh, it's cool, it's a sale. They want to know what's in it for them. And we get to communicate and speak to their language, not just speaking our language, because it might be like Chinese to English. They might not understand it. But if we go and grab a testimonial or tell a story of, let's say, someone that I know of on my team that has something similar that has happened with them, then I'm able to share that story, that true, honest, integral testimony to them, to let them know that there are stories like this, because people need that. Whether it's the aging skin, right? Like I'm going to ask that question too. It's funny that you said that. I'm like, okay, does that help with like aging skin? Help me out here, sis. So it's so important for us to provide that third party validation, that social proof to people, so that they know that it can relate to them. And then that's when they're like, wow, okay, I see the relatability in that story, maybe not directly in mine, but now I can help them either get started in the products or, same thing like you said, like single mom, that sort of thing. So if my story doesn't relate with them, I'm going to go and find a story that will relate to them because we have plethora of those stories. We get to be really good storytellers and share other people's stories because that's what's going to relate to the person that we're speaking to.
Yeah, and I think I love that you said that storytelling because that has been something I've been super focused on even with my team is getting back to telling stories. Your story, the stories of your friends, your teammates, kind of like we talked about business related opportunity. It's one thing to be an expert on your product like you talked about in the beginning of the podcast. You guys are a wealth of knowledge. I've heard you talk about nutrition and wellness and it's mind-blowing. I could sit and listen to you talk about it all day. I'm like, wow, so fascinating. But what carries people even more than that, I would say, is stories. You could have a post, for example, of bullet points of here's all the things this product does versus a post about sharing a story and a transformation of what somebody experienced and went through. Which one's going to catch the attention of more people? It's always going to be the story. And I think that's very promising because people get in this industry and they go, oh man, I've got to learn all the products and I've got to learn all the facts and where it's derived from and all the ingredients. And you will be in your company and engulfed in it enough to where you will learn that. But it's so positive and encouraging to me and to other people that it's those stories. If you can become a good storyteller and you can become good at casting vision for yourself, for your network, for your teams, that's what's going to carry your business more than the facts and the bullet points,
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that. And I know you said you guys mainly lead with the opportunity, and then kind of default to the product. So whereas from a social media standpoint and a marketing standpoint, would you say you're primarily marketing the business, or do you have a balance of both marketing the business and the product?
Great question. I actually have a balance of both. Now, when I say we lead with the business, if I was going to invite someone to see the presentation, that I'm more leading with the project, right? Because I want to get them in front of everything and not pigeonhole them into one. Because
Mhm.
on social media, I'm probably 60-70% more on the products and
Mhm.
then 40% on business, community, extra income, that sort of thing. So I definitely on social media talk more about the benefits of the products, cortisol, stress, all of that stuff. But I also talk a lot about this because if I only approach people, and this is what we train our team on, and I'm speaking from me, is if we only approach people from a product, what if they're like, gosh, I really want that product. I might need that product. I really want that product, but they can't afford it. And so I feel like we're doing them a disservice if we only talk products, because what if this is something that they've been praying for, like we were? What if this is something that they're praying for, but maybe their ego and their pride is too much to tell you, hey, I can't really afford that right now because, I'm already working two jobs and I'm a single mom and that sort of thing. But if we can cast that vision, like you were talking about, what's possible, and then they can see themselves making that extra money. Now they know that, okay, then I can afford the products because I'm able to make that extra money, or I'm able to spend more time with my family and still have that. Instead of just, oh, products. Again, I just really feel like there's so many people out there praying for a way. I know we were. I really was. I was like, God, is this really it? Is this all that we're supposed to do and never see each other? I mean, I would cry in my prayers. Like, I'm trying not to get emotional about it, but this was 7 years ago. And I was like, if someone would have just approached me about products, I wouldn't be here. But
Mhm.
someone got themselves out of the way to talk about what would be possible for us and cast that vision of how this could help our family. And then that's when we were open to the opportunity instead of just the products, because we couldn't afford the products at the time. Matter of
Mhm.
fact, 7 years ago, in order to get started as a business partner in that first company, we had to borrow the money. We had to borrow the money to get started as a business partner so that we could make extra money. But if they would have only tried to sell us products, we wouldn't be here today.
Mhm.
because it was about casting the vision of what's possible. And here's the thing, asking the right questions to people, right? Like, what brought you to my page? Why were you drawn to, what I'm talking about? Like, asking, people are going to talk about their pain points, and it's because it's easy to do. So it's relatable, right? And then let them talk about their pain points, because maybe they're going to tell you that they really want the products but they can't afford them. And
Mhm.
then, not just like pouncing on them, what those pain points are, and you can cast vision, right? Not just trying to go in directly for the sale, or I'm going to get that one. Being able to relate to their pain points, because again, this is where that storytelling comes in. Maybe their pain points aren't relate my story isn't relatable to their pain points. But the more questions that I ask, the more I can either grab a testimonial, or I can remember one of my partners on my team that have a story that's going to relate, and then I can tell a story, and I can tell that story and cast that vision, instead of just being like, hey, do you want to see this? Do you want to buy these products? Like, we don't need any more Pamelas, anything like that. We want to be relatable to people, and people need people. And we were talking about that connection at the beginning. We get to be that connector. We get to be that professional friend maker. We get to ask the questions without an agenda and get to know them. And then when they start telling us their pain points, now we can cast that vision of what's possible for them and let them see that, hey, this might be the answer for you to make that extra money, or this might be the answer for you to be able to take your family on that vacation you want to this summer. But we got to ask the questions. We got to
Yeah.
get ourselves and our agenda out of the way and truly care about others. So on social media, yes, I talk probably a little bit more about products and the benefits of them, but I also tell stories, and then I talk about that business, because I also know how many people need that extra $500, $1,000 a month, and then how, that has changed our lives. And I tell my story about that I told on here, tell that story so that that story might relate to them. Or I tell someone else's story about, like, there's one lady, she's a mom of six. She needed $20,000 for her daughter's eye surgery because her daughter's eyes were stuck to the side. And a mom of six, she can't go out and get another job. So she started here to earn that $20,000 as quick as possible. She did that within 3 to 4 months and was able to get her daughter's eyes done. But if I would have only talked about the products, I would have never known that. And I wouldn't have been able to cast that vision of what's possible for her to be able to create that. So we just get to ask the right questions and be that storyteller.
Yeah, I love that. And two questions that I have found super helpful. One is when they're coming to me interested in the business opportunity. The very first thing I ask before I say, here's a video to watch and blah, 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 and here's all the facts, I say, what intrigued you about this company? I just want to hear, like, what even sparked this interest? And right then and there, like you said, they're going to tell you, well, I'm struggling with this and we need extra income. Or I seriously had one lady one time say, I watched your leadership retreat that you hosted, and like that just spoke to me, and I want to be a part of that, and I need the community. Well, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and go through an entire compensation plan with her, right? Like, I'm going to talk about our community. I'm going to talk about those trips that she can be on. If somebody's like, I need, X amount of money, like you said, I need $20,000 within a certain amount of time. Well, I'm going to speak to that and show her how that can be made possible. And so a lot of times we get ahead of ourselves and just, we're so excited about our company. We want to share all the amazing things. But like you said, what spoke to us may not be the reason that they're looking into your company, right? They may be looking into it for totally different reasons. And then another thing that I do that's separate from those coming for the business, maybe like you said, they're coming for product. They want to hear about the makeup or the skincare, whatever. I'm going to speak to them about the products. I'm going to get them all set up. And then it's as simple, I think sometimes we overthink it. It's really as simple as presenting an option. We have this pathway as a customer and these perks. Or have you ever thought about turning this into a business and earning some commission? That's it. Just ask the question and they'll tell you right then and there. They'll either say, no, not interested. Like you said, great, you're a customer. It's a win-win. These products are amazing. Let me help you get set up. Or it's a lot of times it's well, I've thought about it, but I don't know if I can be successful, or I've done it before and I haven't found success. Well, then you realize they are interested. It's just a limiting belief that's kicking in that you can now talk to them through. Or it's a, yes, I've actually been interested. Tell me more. And then you go through that process and get them signed up. So, like Mandy said, it really is as simple as asking the right questions and not word vomiting and not getting ahead of yourself. I think oftentimes it's really a mindset like, instead of, I mean, even when you're inviting people to a call, it's not about how many people can I get to join, how many people can I get to buy. It's about how many people can I put in front of this opportunity to hear about it. And if it's for them, great. And if it's not, great. But how many people can I just get in front of this opportunity and have the mindset that it's about them? Like, yes, you have goals and that's okay and that's fine, but it's at the end of the day, it's really not about you. This business is about helping people, whether it's a product transformation, something they've been struggling with, or like Mandy said, like financially. Like I was a single mom when I started in this business. I needed those finances. So I think that's, if you take nothing away from this, I think just learning to ask those questions before speaking. Couple more things I wanted to ask you before we go, because I think this is a really common question. And I know in talking to you at Mastermind that day, your leadership skills are phenomenal. And there's a common question you've probably gotten, I know I've gotten many of times throughout my years in this industry, but it's, my team is quiet. How do I motivate my team? How do I get my team responding? How do I get my team active? What would you say to that? Where would you encourage somebody's focus to be?
I love that. That's a great question. We actually just did a team leadership call on that specific topic because we hear that sometimes, right? When people come in and they go to their family or they go to their close friends and they get shot down, they feel demotivated. But the real truth is, it's not our job to motivate others. We want to look for motivated people. It's not our job to motivate others. Because I'll just use my husband and I as a funny example, and he actually used this, so I'm gonna borrow it. So, like, let's say I want to go to the gym, but I'm really busy. It's not his job to motivate me to go to the gym, and we're both personal trainers, so that doesn't work. We know this in our marriage, right? But it's not my husband's job to motivate me to go to the gym. And I can't put my whether I'm going to go to the gym based on if he motivated me to go or not, right? So we can't look for the external motivation. We got to look for that in ourselves. First and foremost, motivation is an internal thing. And that's when I redirect people to their why. Why did you get started here? Why is this important to you? Because I want to get down below all of these limiting beliefs, the excuses, whatever that is. And we all have them, and we've all had them at times in our lives. And we got to peel back that onion and help them get to the why. Because when people can see their why, whether it's why they got started, whether it's why they're working so hard, still working their 9 to 5 and doing this, there's a why underneath all of that. That, when we can peel back and expose that for people, whether they're in our business, in our team, not yet, when we can help them see that, that is the internal motivator. Excuse me. That is the internal motivator that is going to get them to go, okay, you know what? Then let me go make that social media post because my why is more important than my excuses. My why is more important than my limiting beliefs. And even though those limiting beliefs are probably screaming, don't do it. You're not going to be successful. You're not worthy. Whatever those things are, sometimes you just got to put duct tape around it. Shut up and know that that why is your driving force. That why is what's going to motivate you. Now, as far as being the leadership side, we as leaders can come in and help our team rediscover their why. Hey, you got into this business for X, Y, and Z. You said your goal is this. Talk to me about what's going on. Is this still important to you? And they might say like, yeah, I had this challenge come up or these objections and everybody told me no. And it's our job as leaders to go and help people relook at their why, rediscover why they got started. And then there's sometimes that people are still going to let all that stuff get in the way. And, they're going to be like, well, I'm not motivated. And I'm not, okay, that's okay. Meet them where they are. But our focus as leaders is to find motivated people. Our job is not as leaders to go and try and motivate people. It's not our job. I've done it. And the reason I say this is because I've done it. Trying to motivate my people. Come on, guys, like, let's go do this, get together and we do power hour, reach out to 10 people. And I've done that. But it's not my job to motivate people to do that if they're not connected to their why and knowing that this is why I'm going to do this. This is why I'm determined, to hit, $1,000 a month, or why I want to replace my career income. So it's not our job to motivate people. It's our job to go out and find the motivated people. Because
Mhm.
again, we can all, as leaders, teach skill, but we can't teach work ethic and desire. And so when people get demotivated, I will spend a little time going and helping them work through those challenges or obstacles in their heads that don't exist, or like, see it a different perspective. But again, my job is not to motivate them. My job is to help them motivate themselves, and if they can't, that's okay. I want to meet them where they are, but put my time and focus and energy on finding motivated people, because I promise you, in this industry, it is way more fun when you have motivated people. And Eric Worre says it best, right? It's easier to give birth to the new than to raise the dead. And
Mhm.
I'm not saying to just like blow people off or anything like that. I'm saying, like, meet them where they are, help them rediscover their why. But it's also our job to go out and find those new people that are motivated, that know, like, okay, here's my why. I'm not stopping until I get to that, right? And so for me, it was, I wanted to be home with my family. And let me just say, I was not stopping until my husband and I were both retired from the gym so that we could be home with our family and build our life, build our business around our life. And that was my why. I'm like, nobody's getting in my way. And I didn't need an external motivator to get that done because I was so determined. So finding people that have that fire in them, maybe they need that rekindling. But again, your time and energy shouldn't be constantly trying to push people, because that's exhausting. But loving people where they are, and finding people that are motivated to run side by side with.
Yeah. I heard the illustration that if you were hosting a party and you bring all these people in and they're excited and they're full of energy, they're full of life, but you're going to have some that get tired and want to exit out the back door, right? Like it's just going to happen. You can't spend all your energy talking people into staying for the party. But if you're constantly bringing in new people and inviting new people that are going to bring that energy, more than likely, a lot of those people who were going to leave don't want to leave because the energy just keeps going, right? But if you spend so much time blocking the back door, trying to convince people not to go, or trying to motivate people, or give some Braveheart speech, you're not going to be bringing anybody new, and eventually the whole thing's going to fall flat,
Yeah, great
so
point.
I think that's so important is, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's not just about saying, okay, there's the door, right? Like you want to help them, you want to meet them with where they're at, while also continuously growing your business and looking for those willing, coachable, hungry people. And you already kind of covered my last question, which was about your why. And it's cool to see, even in your story, from the first podcast and this one, of your why starting off of just wanting to make a little extra money a month, to now it's like, okay, I'm going to retire my husband and we are walking away from the gym. And so I think that's important to note too, is that your why will evolve. So it's always good to revisit it, because my why is not the same as it was 7 years ago. It's different now. Then it was basically survival mode, single mom mode, to now it's like legacy brand. I want to help other people experience that same success and more. So I want to just end with this. There's a lot of people listening to this podcast that kind of are teeter-tottering between getting in this industry or not, with limiting beliefs, skepticism, all the things. What would just be your biggest piece of advice, your biggest piece of encouragement to those people?
Oh man, that's a juicy one. That really is. And I want to say, I love what you said about the why evolving, because my why 7 years ago was different than my why 5 years ago, than my why is today. And so I love that you said that it does evolve, and it's okay to evolve, right? It's okay to allow that evolution, because we grow as humans and we evolve. So our why can evolve. And as far as that juicy question, you know, I think the industry as a whole in the past has gotten a bad rap. And so But now I forget how many hundreds of millions of people are in this industry now, and it continues to grow because if anything, now is a safer time to take the leap. Go out and look for what are you passionate about, right? Don't let those limiting beliefs stop you from what could be for you and your family, because you could go, oh, well, my Aunt Susie's cousin had a bad experience with this industry, so I'm not going to get into it. Like, come on. You got to base it on your own experience and you got to try things. And I look at it as also like dating, right? Maybe you're married now, or maybe you're still dating and trying to find that one, but it's not like after the first bad relationship or because your sister had a bad relationship that you're not going to date anymore and you're not going to look and you're going to keep your eyes closed. Or, I've had a bad relationship. You have too, bad marriages between both of us. But that didn't stop us from being open to finding that one person, right? Or finding that one company, finding that one to plant your flag in. So I just say, like, just sometimes put duct tape over those limiting beliefs. Go find something that you're passionate about. If it's makeup, if it's health, if it's mental wellness, if it's nail polish, if it's home good, it doesn't matter. And who cares anyway? What other people think of us is none of our business. So really it's about finding what are you passionate about and go and find a company that aligns with that, with those principles, with those values, with those passions that you have, and just go for it. I mean, I say, like, listen, take the leap and learn to build your wings on the way down, because we're not going to fall on our face. And we have people like you and I who truly care about people, and we want to be that safe place for them. We want to show them of what's possible because we can always find negative. We can always find the reasons why not to, or listen to our limiting beliefs and excuses as to why we can't. But it's about finding the people who are not going to allow you to buy into that limiting belief or that excuse or objection that you have, and really be able to help you have that safe place and know that you can do this too. And women can have it all. We just aren't meant to do it all by ourselves. And so that's where finding people to lock arms with, whether it's faith, family, freedom, all of those core values of you, find someone to lock arms with that has those similar passions and interests that can help you get out of your own way.
Oh, that's good. Well, you nailed that juicy question. No, that's so good. I love that. I love that. It's very inspiring. Your story is very inspiring. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of what you've built. We appreciate you being on this podcast. And I would love for you to share, Mandy, real quick, if there's a way people can find you and connect with you, if this podcast resonated with them, how can they follow you for more?
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm Mandy Eskelin on Facebook and Instagram. And I don't have a bot that answers questions. It's really me. I love connecting with people. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. And I am going to answer the question myself, not a bot, not, some autoresponder, anything like that. So reach out to me, but it's Mandy Eskelin, and you can find me on Facebook or Instagram. You'll see part of my life. I'm very transparent. I'm probably one of the biggest goofballs you'll ever see. People are like, "You really posted that reel?" I'm like, "Yes, I sure did, because that's me." And I want to give other people permission to be themselves, their authentic selves. I don't care. And so if you're looking for just somebody to kind of push you out of your own way, I'm happy to connect with you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Mandy. And I appreciate you being on here. So if you enjoyed this podcast, first off, I'd love for you to subscribe to the podcast and maybe share this episode or two. You can tag us in the episodes as well over on Instagram and share with somebody how you benefited from today's episode. So thank you so much for being here, Mandy, and we will chat soon.